Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Caldwell. I'm the Instructional Technology Specialist for Hickory Public Schools. In this session of NCBOLD, Get Your Hands Dirty Engaging in a Digital Playground, we're going to explore some emerging technology, some stuff that's been around for a little while that can really create opportunities to enhance that STEM learning experience for students in traditional classrooms. To access this presentation, there's a link at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, or you can scan the QR code to the right. The session goals, we're going to rotate today through 4 separate video stations that will cover some of these different areas of engaging technology. Those include a VR or virtual reality station, a coding robot station, a video studio station, and a circuitry station. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll go ahead and dive in and get started. First up will be our VR or virtual reality station. Some of the items I'm going to show you in this are an Oculus Quest system, a Google Expedition device or setup, and a GoPro Max camera to create 360 images. First, let's look at where VR fits in to some of the North Carolina standards. On top of just the regular content standards, VR, when used appropriately, can be used to address the digital content and instruction standard of the DLCs or the digital learning standards for teachers. And it can also be used to address the digital learning standards for students. So these strands are empowered learner, knowledge constructor, and global collaborator. First, we need to talk about why VR is so important and the power that it can have in a classroom. First, it provides the real-world context for students in order for them to see places and things that they have not experienced in real life before. Another reason why VR is important to include into instruction and the power it can have is it's engaging and fun for students. It has that wow factor and gets students excited. And it can also build on some students' current interest in VR gaming and content. If we build off of their current interest, it makes them excited about learning and not just passive learners, but truly engaged in the content. And the most important reason why is VR really has the potential to close the gaps we've talked about closing for years. On average, students from lower income households and students from homes where English is not the primary language underperform on science assessments compared to their peers. Providing this real world context to apply the content to is key to success for those groups of students. One reason they perform lower on those science standards is they don't have that real world experience. They have not traveled to some of the places or seen some of the things or had those learning experiences throughout their life that some of their peers have had outside of school. So when we talk about things like ecosystems, it's hard for those students to grasp a concept if they've never been outside of their community. So that's why VR is important to close those gaps. It creates that equitable opportunity to take every student everywhere around the world to show them what we are learning about. Next, let's look at some of the different types of VR or virtual reality experiences. It can go from the expensive headsets that are fully immersive all the way down to VR experiences they can do on any classroom device, a phone, an iPad, Chromebook, you name it. There is an entry point to VR for everyone from free all the way up to paid. So first we have the fully immersive virtual reality setups. These are going to be the most realistic, where you are fully immersed in the content and are able to interact kinesthetically by moving around in that VR experience. These are going to be your head-mounted displays and typically have some type of body control functions, usually handsets or controllers. One example of this, one of the most common ones on the market today, is the Oculus Quest This is the Oculus Quest 2 made by Meta, which used to be Facebook. And you control the content using these controllers. You are fully immersed, wearing the headset, interacting with the content. The next level down of VR or virtual reality is the semi-immersive. And so these are partial virtual environments where students or those engaging in it are not fully immersed in interacting, but it puts them in that learning experience. These are typically going to be your headsets with a phone or some type of environment simulated display. Think of some of the video game arcades where you're sitting in driving a car, or a flight simulation, things of that nature. The most common semi-immersive VR setup for classroom use is going to be the traditional headset, viewer, and phone. So the content is on the phone and you put it in the headset and students engage this way. It is semi-immersive because there are not the hand controllers like you have in some of those fully immersive setups, but students are able to get more of a realistic experience using this. And lastly, there is the non-immersive level of virtual reality experience. These are VR experiences that are viewed on a traditional screen or device. It opens up in a window on a computer or on a tablet or on your phone. You use your mouse or keyboard or touchscreen to navigate through that scene. It's similar to Street View on Google Maps, so where you're able to drag and explore a scene from a single focal point in that scene on the regular screen of your device. So you can see, doesn't cost anything to get involved in virtual reality in your classroom. The technology's already there. It just depends on how immersive an experience you want to provide for students. So real quick, two options I'm going to present to you right now are two of the more popular items for VR in classrooms. So the Oculus Quest 2, this is that fully immersive headset that I mentioned, and then the traditional Google Cardboard or Expedition device and viewer. So a little bit about these two. If you want to explore them more at a later point, each of these titles links out to a video that shows you what each does. So the Oculus Quest 2, made by Meta, Facebook, it is currently selling for $299 for a unit. Now, you aren't going to buy one for every student in your classroom, but the good thing about these, there is a way to remotely connect to another device, whether it be a tablet or a computer, to then be able to project that scene that a student is experiencing up on a board or up on a mounted TV, or share to other student devices. So you're not having to buy one for every student in a class. You have one for a classroom setup, and the students can watch what one person is doing. You rotate students through so they all get a turn being in VR, but that way, that's the entry point there. The next over here is the most common that we see in classrooms that do have VR equipment, and that's going to be your traditional Google Cardboard, Google Expedition setup. They can range anywhere from the actual viewers made from cardboard, all the way up to some of the more fancy viewers that have lens adjustments and buttons to click. But in the end, they're powered by a phone that is inside of that device. What happens with the scene is it splits the field of vision to then make it appear immersive for the students as they're viewing it. So the next thing is, where do I start and where do I find this content that I can apply to my standards? Well, on this slide, I've linked out a few different options for you. There is a lot of pre-existing content that is currently out there for teachers to use, and there's the option of always creating your own as well. So the very first thing I want to mention is DPI has currently been working on creating what's known as NCVR Adventures. The site is live and it houses learning experiences from across North Carolina that are created by North Carolina educators from sites in their areas or regions. There's some content already in there. It is fairly new, but it's only going to continue to grow. So definitely check that out for some North Carolina specific, some local VR content. In the past, Google had what was known as Google Expeditions, and schools and districts across the state and across the country bought a bunch of these kits that had all these viewers. And sadly, in 2021, Google ended up doing away with Google Expeditions. The app, the devices, and viewers still work though with other VR content. And one of the most popular replacements for Expeditions, Google Expeditions, is what's known as Expeditions Pro. They took some of the content that was in Google Expeditions, pulled some content from other sources, and they've created a free app that's out there for educators to use. It is linked out there. It does have that teacher-led function where a teacher can lead from a tablet and take students on an organized field trip virtually, but it is fairly new, so definitely take a look at it if you're interested in some already pre-existing content that's out there. When Google shut down Google Expeditions, it migrated some of that VR content over into another one of their products, which was Google Arts and Culture. So it does still hold some of that original Google Expedition content as well, and is a great source to start at in looking for that. And then lastly, if you are interested in incorporating not just 360 or VR images into your classroom, but if you're wanting to bring in virtual reality video, YouTube 360 has a ton of content out there. You would just have to then align it to your standards and make sure you vet it for age appropriate nature. Another option for virtual reality content in the classroom is original teacher created content. And it sounds hard to do, but it's actually fairly easy to create your own VR scene. A teacher could go to a place that has a learning experience that they want to bring their students to, and they could just create their own VR scene that students could access, either on their own devices in the classroom or through VR headsets. There's two options for creating these. One is by using a 360 camera. So the one that I have and I am a big fan of, I have a picture up here at the top, is the GoPro Max. It's very easy to use. You go snap a picture, pull it off, put it onto your computer, and put it into a hosting site. And then you can build in the focal points and add your content in at a later point. If you don't want to spend the money on a 360 camera, because they can be in the $100, $200 plus range, another option is to just use your phone to create a 360 image. And one way to do that is by using the Google Street View app to create a photosphere, which is a series of separate pictures that are then spliced together to create a VR scene. The app does it for you. If you want to learn more about that, I have linked out the directions on how to create a 360 VR scene using just your regular cell phone or portable device. Once you have that image, the next step is to create the VR scene and upload your image and supporting content into some type of site where students can access it. And so two that I really am a big fan of are ThingLink and Momento 360. Both have free and paid versions, but you can take your 360 image, put it into those for free, add content, resources, activities, links into those scenes for students to access and learn with. So that is our introduction to VR, and we will go take a look at our next station next. In this station, we're going to explore some coding robots. A few examples of some items that I'll share with you are a Sphero, a dash and dot, and an Ozobot, 3 different types of coding robots. Each has its own purpose and way to be coded. Where do these fit in? They're not just toys, although they are fun to play with, and some children do play with them while learning at home. They do serve an educational purpose. So the digital learning standards for teachers, or the DLCs for teachers, this would fall under the digital content and instruction strand. And for the digital learning standards for students, this would create opportunities for students to be empowered learners, innovative designers, computational thinkers, and creative communicators. Why coding robots? Why are we going to take some of these toys, educational toys, and incorporate them into instructional practices? One, they're engaging. If students are having fun, they're more likely to be learning. Secondly, it's a fun way to introduce students to coding while covering our standards in the traditional curriculum. It's also a hands-on STEM or STEAM-based learning experience for students. And lastly, why it's so important, it also provides students an opportunity and a chance to learn a marketable skill while we're covering our traditional curriculum. A few little stats down here at the bottom of the screen. Computing jobs, computer science jobs, are the number one source of new wages in the United States. So it is our job not only to teach our standards, but to prepare our students for the future. And part of their future is finding a job. And so we need to be preparing students now for jobs that will exist 10, 15 years down the road when they are entering the workforce. The other important piece of this is their financial future. There is increased future wage potential for anyone that knows how to code. This kind of shows you the breakdown of the potential wage impact over a person's lifespan based off of their education and their background. You can see regular high school diploma graduate, their earning potential does not match up to someone who has gone to college or a trade school. And those that have some type of computer science background or major, they stand a chance to make significantly more money over the course of their life. So we owe it to our students to provide them these marketable skills that they can carry into the future workforce. So how do we code these things? Most of them are coded using what's known as Blockly code. They're not writing out full lines of script in Python. It's using these puzzle pieces that are codable instructions for these robots to follow. Blockly is a visual code language. There's an example up here to the right, and you can see a student has gone in and put this together. They put this into the coding robot, and it will execute that function. So the coding concepts are these interlocking blocks like puzzle pieces to make coding visual for students as they learn the basic building blocks of coding language. Some of the robots that use Blockly code include Sphero. So this is a Sphero. Dash and Dot, which is a pair of robots. You have Dash, which is this larger one that is mobile. You can see it has wheels on the bottom. And then his little friend, Dot. They can be coded independently or work together as a tandem. And then lastly, we have Ozobots. These little tiny guys right here. And they can be coded. The newer ones can be coded using Blockly code. There are other types of coding robots. One I'll mention that is great for early learners are B-Bots. It is coded using buttons on the top, and so early learners can code using just a button sequence. And then another great one that I just showed you, Ozobots, it can not only be coded using Blockly code, but it can be coded using colors and a sequence. An example of that, this comes with the Ozobots. You can see these little maps. The Ozobot recognizes the different colors, and what it will do is it will follow it around each color combination is a line of code that the Ozobot recognizes, where it can then perform the function that is aligned to that code. If you'd like to see each of these in action, see what each can do and how they operate, the titles of each of these are linked out to videos where you can get a basic understanding of what each of these robots have the potential to do. So again, this is Ozobot, can be coded using colors or that Blockly code. Sphero and Dash and Dot, which can be coded using Blockly code. And then the Bbot, which is for early learners and can be used to can be coded using the buttons and sequences on the top. And that is your introduction to coding robots. In this station, we're going to look at video creation. Some of the items that I'll talk about are green screens, lighting, and some additional gear you can use to make some better quality videos for classroom use. So let's dive in. So where does video creation fit in? A couple areas with the digital learning standards for teachers, or the DLCs, it's that digital content and instruction piece again. The digital learning standards for students, it allows students to be empowered learners, knowledge constructors, creative communicators, and if they publish their video, it allows them to be that global collaborator. So for next, why video creation? Why is it important? Well, it can actually meet one of two instructional needs. Teachers can create their own original instructional content and publish it for students to utilize in classroom instruction or for remediation at home. Or students can create their own videos and submit them for work. So let's look at the student-created videos first. Why this is important is it creates an opportunity for students to transition from just being digital consumers to true digital creators. They're not just absorbing content through devices or through technology, but they are actually using that technology to create a product to demonstrate their knowledge or learning. There are 4 different types of student-created videos. I have a link to an article that goes through each of these in more detail on the resources at the end of this presentation. But we'll go over these 4 different types real quick. The first is a learning product video. This is a video that a student would create that demonstrates their knowledge or their learning. The next is a response video. That is just a response to a prompt or a question. Think of a video discussion board. The next, a reflection video. That offers insight into the student's learning process. So where the student is reflecting on work, reflecting on the learning process, reflecting on any of the activities that they have done up to that point. And then the last type of video is a tutorial video, which is the purpose of it is for students to inform others about a process, skill, or how to do a task. On the other side of video creation, we have teacher-created instructional video content. Why this is important is it allows students to receive content at their own time, pace, and place in the learning process. They can get that direct instruction like they get in a traditional classroom at any time in the learning process. If a student isn't ready for that content right when you're going over it with the whole class, this video content allows them to revisit it or visit it for the first time even at a time when they are ready for that content. Not too early, not too late. It also allows students to work at their own pace. If they are taking too much time or if they're working ahead, it allows them to get to that instructional content when they are ready for it as they're managing their own learning. And the place in the learning process. Sometimes some students work a little bit slower. If they need that instructional content after school is done, but before the next day, This video content allows them to access that learning at home if they have a device. Why this is all important is it creates that opportunity for students to manage their own learning instead of everybody in the class doing the same thing at the exact same time. Students can work at their own pace and meet those learning goals when they're ready for it. It also allows students to access that content at home to study for review, access instruction easily when they're absent. So say a student's out for a few days sick, they can go in and watch that instructional content, and it's easier for them to master those concepts that they missed. It allows students to accelerate. If they've already demonstrated that they have mastered those standards, it can allow them to work ahead or go on to a more advanced topic. And it also allows for remediation opportunities. Students can go back and watch that if they do not demonstrate mastery on a standard or on some content. It's not on here, but another great advantage of this is it's not just the students that can utilize this. Parents and those at home can use it as well. Sometimes if a student isn't mastering something, they have some additional work or some homework where they go and they're trying to master it at home after that lesson is over. This allows the parents who may not know the content on their own an opportunity to go in and assist those students with that learning process after hours in the home. The great thing about video content now in the classroom is it can be done using any common student or teacher device we have available in most classrooms across the state. And so with that, we no longer have to rely on those designated video recording devices, just a camera or video recorder. It can be done by devices that are readily available. We'll look at some of the advantages of each different type of device and talk about the different types of devices that can be used. One of the more common devices we see in classrooms today are Chromebooks. With those, most have just a front-facing camera looking directly at the person using the device. Some of the newer models, however, are starting to build in both a front and rear-facing camera option, which increases the capacity and options for using those devices to record video. Not only do they record what's looking at the screen, but you can record what's on the other side and what the student is looking at. Quality with these, a lot of times, depends on the age of the model. Some of the newer Chromebooks have better quality cameras, so they will shoot in a better resolution. The older Chromebooks, the cameras may not be as great, but one great thing about them is you can easily integrate a higher quality webcam. Plug it in via USB, and then you can use that camera on the Chromebook to get a little bit better quality. One of the more popular options right now for classrooms to record video is an iPad. iPads or any type of tablet, they have that front and rear facing camera so students can record themselves in selfie mode or record what's in front of them. Again, quality oftentimes depends on the age and the model of the iPad. The newer iPads and iPad Pros do have great quality video and can shoot in amazing high def. They are easy. Another advantage of iPads, they're easy to edit the videos on using iMovie, which is built into the iPads. One disadvantage, though, is the videos that are recorded on iPads, they are saved in a .mov file, and that can create some compatibility issues if you intend on students uploading it to certain tools or editing the video in certain tools that are not Apple specific. Again, you may run into some issues with app compatibility on the iPads for older models. So things that some of the older iPads that don't update past a certain iOS, you can run into some compatibility issues there. But overall, iPad is going to be your best option for that high quality resolution for student video creation, utilizing devices that are already accessible inside of classrooms. And then another great option is just the traditional standard cell phone. A lot of the new cell phones have great cameras on them that can capture video in high def. A lot of students, especially middle grades and up, do have these. You always want to have devices available for students who don't have their own personal device due to issues with equity in the classroom. But cell phones, again, similar to the iPads, they have a front and rear facing camera. Quality can depend on the age and the model, but great for students to record on, and they can even do it outside of school at home. When selecting a tool or program to record on, a few things to kind of keep in mind. Be sure to pick an appropriate program or tool for the type of videos you're wanting students to create out of those 4 types we discussed just a little bit ago, or the type of video you plan on students creating. Select an age-appropriate program or tool for students to be using as well. Make sure if you are using a tool, don't expect a kindergartner to give you a fully processed video using iMovie without a little bit of assistance. But there are some tools that students are already using during instruction that they can record video content on. And some of those tools and apps I have listed on this screen. For beginner students, to introduce them to video creation, a great way to incorporate this at the beginning stages is to use one of these popular tools that you may already be using. Flipgrid, Seesaw, ClassDojo Portfolio. Each has its own advantages, disadvantages. Real quick, Flipgrid, I promote that for middle and high school age students, even though it can be used across all grade levels. Reason I like it for those grade levels, it has that Snapchat, Instagram, social media type feel that students are already accustomed to. So it gives them, it plays off their interest into current things that they're doing with their devices at home in their free time. I also like Flipgrid because those districts that use Canvas, it has a Canvas integration where you can make a Flipgrid activity and assignment. It also integrates with Google Classroom. Another great advantage of it, it has an augmented reality option, which is great for an interactive kinesthetic feel to this as well, because you can use that augmented reality option within Flipgrid for students to create videos, but then turn it into a digital gallery walk. The next tool up here, Seesaw, another great tool, commonly used in a lot of elementary classrooms, but again, this can be used across all grade levels. A great thing about Seesaw, it's kind of a digital portfolio for student work. It, again, integrates well with Google Classroom. There's a really good Google Classroom integration with that. This links out onto instructions on how to set that up. A great thing about it, you can preload assignments and content in it, so students, their videos that they're creating are on a specific problem or topic or diagram. And then another option is ClassDojo Portfolio. Again, ClassDojo is typically known as kind of a behavior monitoring piece and communication tool with parents. But there is the portfolio portion of that as well, where students can, on their account, go in and they can record content and submit it to the teacher. So those schools that are already using ClassDojo for the behavior piece, it's a great way to get students involved in video creation to where they can submit it to the teacher, but the parents can view their product as well. A couple other options for recording video. Students can just use that built-in camera that I was talking about to record that raw video, and then they can take it and do some more professional style editing with it in a video editing program. A few options depending on the devices that you have available. If you are using an iOS device, so an Apple device, iMovie is going to be your best free option there. And it works well with those .mov files I mentioned. Windows video editor for anyone using or going to be editing on a Windows device. And then if you are using a Chromebook, the product I recommend there and it can be used on any device as well, not just Chromebooks, is a site called Video Candy. It is a web-based site that works on any device, and you can go in and you can edit and trim and splice those videos that are recorded from your web browser. So Chrome, Safari, any browser that you are utilizing or students are utilizing. Another tool you may also want to check out or have students look at is Unscreen. If you click on that link, it will take you to unscreen.com. And what that does is it will remove the background of any pre-recorded video, to where if students or a classroom doesn't have a green screen, it will take a raw video and students can then remove the background behind them, and they can put the video image that they are recording of themselves onto any background image that they choose. It gives it that Hollywood green screen type effect, but without the green screen. Another option I also like to highlight is for districts that are utilizing Canvas, you can create a Canvas assignment and use the media recording submission type for students to create a video recorded submission for an assignment. When you go to create the assignment, if you go to submission type, select media recording, and this is the option that students are presented with. They can record the media directly there within Canvas, and it connects to the camera on that device, or they can go in and upload media that is already pre-recorded and stored in their Google Drive or on the device that they are accessing Canvas on. And last, there are ways that you can improve the quality of videos that are created within your classroom, whether it be videos you create or videos that students create. A few things to keep in mind are the image quality, the audio quality, and a method for editing the video to make seamless transitions. First, we'll look at the image quality. A lot of time that image quality is reliant on the type of camera being used and the type of camera built into that device. That is something that's kind of outside of our control typically, but you can integrate in a third-party webcam into devices, or you can focus on things that are within our control, like lighting and the stability of the camera that's being used to record. So this is an example of a lighting camera rig that I use. It has a green screen backdrop as well as a white and black backdrop, and 4 lights that come with it that can be used to improve image quality. Lighting is always key. It reduces shadows. It reduces the dark nature of a video and really makes things pop on camera. Another thing that you can utilize to improve that image quality are some type of stability or tripod mount, something to keep that camera stationary and stable if you're using something like an iPad to record. The more still a camera is being held, the better quality image that is going to be put through on that video. Next, audio quality is going to be key. It's not just the visual piece of a video that makes it a good quality. The audio of the recording makes a difference as well. So some things to focus on there are making sure quiet spaces are available for students, and that can be difficult in a room full of 30 students recording videos at the same time. So a few suggestions there on ways that you can improve that. One is look at some external microphones that can be connected to devices. This is one that I currently use. It is a Blue Yeti, and I've added some images of other USB microphone options here as well. Connecting those does create a better quality audio experience for a video. The microphones built into devices typically are not designed to pick up the best quality audio. Integrating one of these options into a video recording will definitely increase the audio quality of that video. There are things that we can do for free, though, in a classroom to reduce background noise in order to create a better quality student-created video. This is an example of a quick little project you can have students do and build if you're going to be utilizing video content in your classroom. It's a DIY voice recording box. It's pretty much a cardboard box with either some insulated foam, noise reducing foam. You can actually make these for free by, instead of using the foam, using egg cartons that you then glue inside the box. And what that does is it helps absorb any background noise and also isolate the direction of the sound that is coming in for the video, so that students aren't picking up all that background noise around them. It's actually picking up the sound coming and being projected at the device. And lastly, a video editing method. Using a tool that you can go in and trim videos down, splice videos together, and cut out any unnecessary or awkward pauses. A few examples of these that I promote: if you are using an Apple device, iMovie, definitely check it out. Very user-friendly for those new to video editing. If you are using a Windows device, the Windows Video Editor is a great built-in free option. And then something that's a little more device neutral and you or students can use on any device is going to be Video Candy, that web-based application I mentioned earlier. So this is your introduction to student and teacher video creation. This is our circuitry station. So we're going to look at a few items here that can be used to teach circuitry to students. Where this fits into some of the standards, the digital learning standards for teachers, that digital content and instruction again. And with the digital learning standards for students, it allows an opportunity for students to be empowered learners, innovative designers, computational thinkers, and creative communicators. Why circuitry? Why is that important, and where does it fall in? Well, one reason it's important is, again, like these other things, it's engaging. Students have fun while they're doing it. It feels more like playing than it does like learning. It's a fun way to introduce students to circuitry while covering some of the standards in our regular traditional content and curriculum. And it's a hands-on STEM or STEAM-based learning experience for students. In addition to that, it also provides students an opportunity and a chance to learn a marketable skill. In addition to just the computer science jobs and positions that are out there in that growing area of these new jobs that are becoming available, it also is important because it overlaps with some of those trade jobs that some of our students are going to be going into in their future. And introducing them to this concept and getting them familiar with it, growing that interest, allows them an opportunity and opens those doorways into some of those higher paying trade jobs that they can go on, because we know four-year universities are not for every student. With that, these are marketable skills that can help increase students' future wage potential, and it's our job to prepare them for the jobs of the future. And this is one way that we can do it within our regular curriculum. So 2 items and products that I want to introduce you to in the realm of circuitry and coding are Makey and Little Bits. So this is a Makey. It's a little programmable controller. It looks kind of like the original Nintendo controller. And you can use these alligator clips to connect the Makey to any object that conducts electricity. And you can make a kinesthetic programmable controller, circuit, or sensor to utilize in classroom instruction. So this is the Makey kit, and it comes with the USB cord to plug it into a device that supports it. So it can be plugged into a laptop, can be plugged into a Chromebook, and can control any type of programmable application on that. This is an example that someone has connected these clips to some bananas to make a banana or fruit keyboard to play music on. Another item I want to share with you are little bits. Little bits come in all different shapes and sizes and all different kits for different functions. But basically, what they are is these small circuit components that can be connected together, components, modules that can be connected and linked together and programmed to perform certain functions. It's that design thinking where students can then create and design a solution to a real world problem. The basic entry level to this are these starter kits, these little bit starter kits that can be purchased, and they range all the way up from the starter kit all the way up through these larger scale kits that have more advanced components. If you want to learn more about either of these two items or products, the videos will link out to a video that will show you basically what each does. And so this has been your introduction to circuitry. Now that we've rotated through each of these stations, it's time for you to have a little bit of a chance to explore. So take about 15 or 20 minutes to go in, pick a station or multiple stations that interest you the most and you feel are the most applicable to the area that you teach and the standards that you cover. Then explore those products and tools and those videos linked out on the slides for that station. You'll go in, see what they're all about, see what they can do a little bit more, and then brainstorm. How can I use those in my classroom? What standards does that address? How can I get funding to purchase some of that equipment? Are there grants within my district available or just other grants out there that I can apply for? And after you've had a chance to brainstorm and think through this and think of how you can apply it to your standards, share out with others that have participated in this session by clicking on this Padlet. When you click there, it will take you here. And just use this as a place to share out your ideas. You'll pick the station that you had explored further, click the plus button, and then you can type in or share out in other ways, whether it be photo, links to lessons that you found. Share out your thoughts that you have came up with during your brainstorm session. In addition to that, one last thing I'll leave you with, there are some additional resources and links that I have added down here at the bottom of this slide. It will take you to a Google Doc that includes lesson plans, ideas, resources from those products that we covered, where you can go in and explore them further as well. So thank you for your time today. I hope you learned a lot and have a great day.